You give me a prediction for when I'm talking to you this time, 2027. Where will Harry and Meghan be?
Stripped of their titles.
There are growing calls to strip Harry and Meghan of their royal titles. The New York Post is reporting that locals in the UK say enough is enough.
Prince Harry is asked his occupation, and his answer is Prince of England? Oh, I had to bring in Sue.
He's the credit taker, but Founder is going to make a lot of people very angry. I'm sure we'll see a lot of it in the comments.
The king should never have entertained any opportunity with, of course, the former royals known as the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, Meghan Markle and Prince Harry.
And he actually reaches out and touches him. That's a pretty big deal. He wants to connect so bad. And when you're a guy and you put another guy's hands in your hand...
Andrew lost the word prince in a single afternoon, and the moment the ink dried, the same royal watchers who'd sworn it could never happen turned toward California and said it out loud. Harry and Meghan are next, not if any more.
I believe that everything they do, there's always an ulterior motive. There's always got to be something in it for them. There's always got to be a means to why they're doing it, which is appalling. You have to be able to trust people and go, oh my God, so you're doing this because... Just don't buy it with them. So much of it is
For 6 years, the idea of taking away the Sussex titles was treated like theatre, something people kept talking about, but nobody believed would actually happen. The general view was that the legal and institutional system simply wasn't built to do it cleanly. You couldn't just erase a dukedom overnight. Then, Andrew blew that assumption apart. What do you think? Was this a long overdue correction or a dangerous precedent? Share your thoughts in the comments.
There will come a point where the monarchy in its entirety is going to have to go, listen, we don't trust you. We might love you, but we don't trust you. You can't be part of this. It's be Harry, be my son, but don't. I'm not. But knowing Charles, I suspect he will bail him out and make excuses for him, and he'll try and get in before William becomes king. But I don't think she will ever come back to this country. I think he will find it harder and harder. Yeah, I think they'll be stripped of their titles.
Andrew lost the word prince in a single afternoon, and the moment the ink dried, the same royal watchers who'd sworn it could never happen turned toward California and said it out loud. Harry and Meghan are next, not if any more. When?
Dinner.
King Charles should go. I'm sick of this. It doesn't mean I don't love you, son, but I'm done with this. This is drama. It's no end of drama. It's just always a circus you didn't want to be in. You can just be called Harry, and then you'll have like Andrew Mountbatten. Well, I'm still apparently walking around his little house going, I'm a royal, you have to call me sir. No, you're best friends with a paedophile, mate. Do you know what I mean? Do me a favour.
What's it going to take for King Charles to strip them?
I don't know. You read, don't you, that he doesn't like confrontation. You read that he's somebody who likes to sort of placate.
That wasn't just a scandal. It was a blueprint. Everyone watching understood exactly what they had been shown. One royal writer called it what it was, a warning shot fired across Harry's bow. They said removing Andrew was a useful test run, because it proved what can actually be done.
They said we're out. It's like, yeah, good. Support you. Don't want to be in the Goldfish Bowl? Go.
You did say that.
But you can't land in LA. Sign up to anybody who wants to wear your dirty linen. That dirty linen is the very thing the royal family that you purport to hate. So they're racist. They're this, they're that, it's unfair, it's sexist, my children, blah, blah, blah. You launch your brands, every one of which falls.
According to one source, the reaction from Harry's circle was summed up in one word: blindsided. Not because he cared deeply about Andrew, but because the shield he'd been hiding behind for 6 years suddenly collapsed somewhere else, and he watched it happen. And the plan to use that same tool on him was already openly on the table.
This is such a joke. He's in the Aeronautics Hall of Fame.
Harry is, yeah.
I mean, how many awards can they get that are absolutely a joke before somebody says, okay, well, let's stop doing this? This is too dumb.
More. I just want to get more awards. Because it is such a joke. They're all such bullshit.
They won humanitarian...
Long before Andrew, a friend of William's was said to have said the quiet part out loud: when William becomes king, the titles will simply be removed and a way will be found. At the time, it sounded like frustration. Now it sounds like a plan that just received proof of concept, because the question was never whether the family wanted to do it. It was whether they could do it without triggering a constitutional mess.
If you put Harry and or Meghan in a room with anybody, the contents of that discussion will end up in the media. There are parts of the BBC that patently would con themselves into believing that Operation Thor. I've read articles that William doesn't do enough work. For Christ's sake, his wife had cancer. He's got 3 kids. He's going to be a brilliant king. And I and Kate, everybody knows what I think. I just think it's so petty that this is the truth.
Then came the phrase that has been repeated ever since, watch this space, because the king had just shown within 24 hours how easy it can be. A third told American viewers flatly the titles will go, and that half the country would cheer when they do. But this isn't just pundits filling airtime, and that's what makes it dangerous. The appetite is measurable. The polling behind it is brutal.
The whole let's get back in with the king thing is based on 2 facts. One, the king is ill.
Yes.
And they see an opportunity to perhaps manufacture or wheedle their way, that's an English word, back in. Maybe talking about inheritance money, the future, because I can categorically tell you that when the king dies and William takes over, he's obviously he's got a memory like an elephant. He has never forgotten what Harry did to the royal family. It's all about institution. He used to go every Sunday from Eton. We lived, as you know, in Windsor, to tea or lunch with Granny. And that, to him, the monarchy is massively important. I think his wife has been the greatest asset that the royal family's ever had from outside.
Harry is sitting at around 30% favourable. Meghan is lower, down in the high teens to low 20s, with unfavourable numbers above 60. And on the specific question of whether Charles should make peace, one poll showed 90% opposed, 9 in 10. When the numbers look like that, stripping the title stops looking like a risk to the crown and starts looking like a gift.
Harry will be cut off. I would give any money I've got that if he hasn't been stripped along with his wife, he will be when William becomes king. But King Charles should go. I'm sick of this. It doesn't mean I don't love you, son, but I'm done with this. This is drama. It's no end of drama. It's just always a circus.
Harry is sitting at around 30% favourable. Meghan is lower, down in the high teens to low 20s, with unfavourable numbers above 60. And on the specific question of whether Charles should make peace, one poll showed 90% opposed, 9 in 10. When the numbers look like that, stripping the title stops looking like a risk to the crown and starts looking like a gift.
It's weird, isn't it, how we are influenced by marketing. Have you done something yourself that you've paid for before and thought, why was I paying all of that? There was another one, Marmite sandwich and M&S, right? Marmite and cheese and a little bit of mayonnaise. And I bought one. I thought, well, that's nice. And I thought, you can make this yourself. I know, wake up, eh? It's a bit like this story. Yes, wake up, Prince Harry, tenuous link jumps, because this now is becoming
That's the shift. The commentators aren't just forecasting an outcome. They're reading a public that would applaud it. For years, the same voices hedged. The hedging is gone now, and it's gone because the mechanism and the mood arrived together. Still, most of the coverage is aimed at the wrong man. Everyone is watching Charles, waiting for the father to swing the axe. He won't. The real threat was never Charles.
I think he's done a brilliant job for the first 3 years. I think he's probably a very caring, sharing man. I know he still has his critics. I think he's tried to modernise the monarchy. I think he's been dealt a terrible hand, but we've always also been critical, with Andrew, but he in the end was decisive. And I think he needs to be decisive with Harry, because I think Harry probably feels that he can manipulate his dad. Yes. Away from Camilla and away from William. And his dad needs to show him.
Charles is the softer variable, ill, tired, and, by most accounts, a father who genuinely wants his son back before the end. Sources say he would accept reconciliation tomorrow. That instinct is exactly why he isn't the danger. He hesitates. He softens. He dislikes confrontation, and everyone in the story knows it.
And is that why it's my understanding that courtiers go out of their way, if they do have a meeting, to ensure that there are subtle witnesses in the room or people on standby?
So they know exactly what's been said.
Yeah, also,
that's the point.
It's my understanding that people will stay within arm's reach in case they need to swoop in and claim that his next engagement, there's traffic, it's going to take longer to get there, we got to get you out of the room now. You know, that they are going to great lengths to protect this
And
man.
that's no relationship with your dad, is it? I mean, you know.
William is a very different case. The version that keeps emerging is that he has effectively taken control. The centre of gravity in the family has already shifted from the unwell king to the heir who is simply waiting, and one word keeps being attached to him: done. Not the loud kind of done, but the cold kind, the elephant memory kind, as one source described it. He hasn't forgotten a thing, not the interviews, not the book, not the accusations aimed at his wife and at the institution he has spent his life defending.
They're very undisciplined. I think that they lack, a strong work ethic.
I just think that she calls the tunes and he goes, oh yeah, okay then. Not in that voice, obviously. Ooh, okay
It
then.
might be. It might be in that voice. You mentioned the Prince and Princess of Wales.
Yeah.
The idea that Harry needs armed guards that the Princess Royal doesn't have, is really appalling to me, that Harry thinks he should have this special level of security.
It goes beyond that to me, right?
Right.
If you're not in it because you don't agree with it, why the hell do you expect the benefits that come with that when you're patently...
The outline of his reign is ruthless, and it fits a project he is said to have wanted for years: a slimmer monarchy, fewer working royals, fewer liabilities, a tighter circle that can't be embarrassed from the outside. In that vision, the Sussexes are not family to be managed, they are loose ends to be cut. Stripping their titles wouldn't be some distant item on a to-do list. The claim is that it would be one of his first moves as king. A clean sweep, so no future scandal can bruise the crown the way Andrew's did.
Clickbait or opportunities to score. I think a lot of it, though, clickbait, product, yes, is supreme jealousy about his brother, a desire, this mad belief that he and she can somehow regain the love, adulation. And he can't. It's gone. It's gone. Never to return. Don't care what anybody tells
Their
me.
children are reportedly part of that same discussion. The Prince and Princess styling Harry and Meghan fought to secure for them is now being floated as something a King William could quietly remove. Then there's the detail that really stops you cold. Sources suggest William may never willingly share a room with Harry again. The only possible exceptions would be their father's deathbed and maybe the funeral. And even the funeral carries a shadow. It feels like they're dead in the water. Can you give me a prediction for when I'm talking to you this time, 2027? Where will Harry and Meghan?
It feels like they're dead in the water. Can you give me a prediction for when I'm talking to you this time, 2027? Where will Harry and Meghan be?
Stripped of their titles. They are.
You really think in 12 months they could be stripped of their titles?
I think the world. Certainly this. I think everybody's had enough, mate. I think it's a drama, and you can't carry on like this.
Because one insider suggested William might keep Harry away from it entirely. A brother excluded from his own father's funeral. That's not just estrangement. That's a judgment already delivered. So what hardened him this much? A lot of it comes down to a styling Meghan refuses to give up. The arrangement when they left was straightforward, and it was made directly to the late Queen herself: step back, build the American life, but don't use the royal styling. For a while, that held.
Howie doing Deal or No Deal, and
Which, by the
Meghan in a boob tube is on box 23 for 3 years.
And a boob tube and a bodycon dress. Yeah.
And let me tell you, that's her future. That was or is the future. No, not having it. Sorry.
Yeah.
I'm not being, a lot of people go, oh, you're really harsh about her.
I think
she
you're
disrespected the
holding her
Queen. She disrespected almost everything to do with an organisation that I love
Me too.
and that I will always support. And in that way, you get
Then it started showing up again. First in a published letter addressing her that way, deniable because it came from someone else, which the palace reportedly viewed as a test. Then came what they saw as a different level of provocation: personal compliment slips using the styling in her own name. Not a mistake, an intentional move. To William, That wasn't accidental.
Accountable.
It was
I
a
saw
flag
Howie a
planted in
few
the
months
ground.
ago, and I asked him about it, and one of his producers that has been with him for years. And his producer specifically said, we were really taken aback by her complaining, saying that she felt, like she was a bimbo in that position. And he said, you know what? Not one of us remembered who the hell she was. We had to go
she'd
back.
have probably complained she
A
was
friend of his reportedly said the king had completely lost control, that the couple intended to make his final years miserable, and that Meghan using the styling showed just how weakened the situation had become. She knows he won't act, the friend said, but there's no way King William would allow it. The titles will simply be removed. A way will be found. A way will be found. Hold on to that line, because the intention was there long before Andrew made it easy.
Spencer also,
William was
because
only
he wanted
waiting
to
for the
use
precedent.
that, moving
Now it
forward.
exists.
This is his father's name, right? Mountbatten Windsor. Dump that and try and use the Spencer name. This boy is terrible, whichever way you look at it. It was not a boy, he's a man. He's a 42-year-old man, right? Now he's decided to reframe himself as Duke, Prince of England. And this is because he wants that title to stick, chums, right?
And while all of this hardened behind palace walls, Harry walked into a small studio and handed his critics the most mocked hour of his post-royal life. Start with why he was even there. Weeks earlier, William had gone on to one of the biggest podcasts on the planet and been introduced like a future king, a full, grand, almost reverent run of titles that made the audience lean in. It worked.
Prince Harry just showed up on a podcast. I wonder where he got that idea. It was very weird how, Prince William showed up on the New Heights podcast with the Kelsey brothers. Mm-hmm. And we actually watched this, and I was engrossed, and actually pretty fascinating interview. I actually very much enjoyed it. A hit podcast, got a lot of views, did very well. Yes. So, of course, Harry couldn't stop himself, could he, Sue? Had to go show up on a podcast.
And while all of this was hardening behind palace walls, Harry walked into a small studio and gave his critics the most mocked hour of his post-royal life. Start with why he was even there. Weeks earlier, William had appeared on one of the biggest podcasts on earth and been introduced like a future king, with a full, grand, almost reverent run of titles that made listeners sit up. It worked.
Yes, to hosting Saturday Night Live right when he was releasing Spare. We were robbed. Such a cringy, amazing opportunity. Because Saturday Night Live here in the US, it's now in the UK too, but Saturday Night Live is like a very iconic thing, and they will purposely cast, crazy hosts once in a while just to make it, that iconic. They've had Elon Musk host and Trump and what was his name? Forbes. They've had a bunch of just random people have hosted just so we can get that iconic pop culture moment. And man, I wish the rumor was Harry was very seriously considering it.
And the read on Harry is that he couldn't let that stand, so he showed up on a rugby show that was much smaller. The choice itself told the story, not the huge American football podcast his brother dominated, but a British sport, a smaller platform, a consolation stage. Even the booking seemed like a response to William. It's worth noting that the interviewer is a comedian by profession. The whole format is designed to provoke, and Harry walked in without seeming to realise.
But this Emmy is a little bit overwhelmed by Harry's podcast appearance on the Joe Marler show. He's an English rugby player, very popular, I guess. And honestly, I thought he's a good guy.
I was going to say, he came across fairly likable.
Very likable.
And his co-host.
Jake, absolutely.
Yeah.
Jake was very likable, very funny. And so some very simple questions. It's just to have a little fun at the beginning. Like the first question is about...
Watch how he kept tossing out little jabs at the two hosts, teasing one about his name, poking at the questions, the exact kind of shots you only make when you think the other person can't hit back. Except this room didn't have palace PR surrounding it. No handlers. And several viewers noticed what he apparently didn't. The hosts weren't laughing with him. The younger one kept covering his mouth. They were laughing at him, and he mistook mockery for warmth.
Well, let's hear some of the word salad, shall we?
This one. Occupation.
Full-time dad.
At least he said dad first. He did say dad first. Good for him.
British Army veteran.
Which means that he's unemployed.
Ouch. all you stay-at-home dads out there.
It's true.
Does that mean a stay-at-home mom is unemployed, Sue?
No, it's not the same because they have maids and nannies and cooks and stuff.
Okay, fair. All right,
Not
fine.
the same.
Don't disrespect the single mom. They're good too.
Full-time dad, British Army veteran, Prince of
British Army veteran,
England, Duke, British Army veteran.
He did a total of 6 weeks. Most people.
Prince of England. Prince of England, he said.
Duke.
Duke. Almost making fun of it himself.
The question that blew up his image was the one about what he does for a living. He piled up a list of things that are not jobs: full-time dad, veteran, Prince of England, Duke, and landed on none of them being a real answer. Full-time dad immediately drew scorn from viewers who know he's abroad without his children far too often. Prince of England triggered something closer to laughter, because it isn't even a title, hasn't been for centuries, and casually erases Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland in one careless phrase.
Windsor.
He and Meghan ended up with Duke and Duchess of Sussex.
So what happened? Windsor's gone?
I
guess so, yeah. But notice how he busts balls. He says, Jake. He's only got one name or two names, whatever. And it's interesting. He does bust balls, but of course he knows that no one can really bust balls back.
Oh, because he's a prince?
Because
Well,
he's
he was.
Prince Harry.
He's not.
Yeah.
Anymore, so.
Well, he even though
Bust all day.
he does, he's still awkward with it, in my opinion. He just has this weird look on his face.
But look at what he left out, because the omissions say more than the list. He didn't mention the corporate role at the mental health company that reportedly pays him 7 figures, the one actual job he has. He skipped over the wellness angle entirely. In the same breath, he brought up being bullied as a boy. Viewers immediately jumped on it. He'll claim titles he no longer performs and forget the paycheck he actually earns.
No. Is being a veteran an occupation?
No, that's not an occupation either.
None of those are fucking occupations. He's unemployed.
And how's it being a duke? I mean, that's just an inherited title.
By the way,
it's a title.
Jim, that's a good point. He should have just said, "I'm unemployed."
Yeah, that would make him more likable.
That'd be way
I'm
more
between
endearing.
gigs.
Or just, Invictus game mascot. Consultant.
Yeah. That would have been a great answer if he said unemployed and laughed.
They would have loved it.
They would have,
Then came Invictus, and this is where part of the audience moved from mocking to furious. When asked if he was the inventor, he reached for it, corrected himself to founder, and looked almost pleased to have landed on the better word. That tiny self-satisfied moment is what enraged people, because the common view is that he founded nothing. The concept goes back to the American Warrior Games. The event itself was built with the Ministry of Defense and the Royal Foundation behind it, then handed to Harry so he'd have something meaningful to hold on to.
Suggest that Harry is the founder or created the Invictus Games. People lose it because the royal family started the Invictus Games and they handed it off to Harry to give him something to do.
Yeah, he's the usurper of the Invictus Games.
He's the credit taker, but founder is going to make a lot of people very angry. I'm sure we'll see a lot of it in the comments. And by the way,
Meghan's a founder too. They both have the same job.
She's a female founder. That's more important.
Good point.
So watching him quietly crown himself while erasing everyone who built the scaffolding read to his critics as the entire Sussex method in one frame. Take the credit, delete the contributors, keep the halo. And the tell that made it land harder. He sat beside a wounded veteran, a man who'd actually lived the recovery Invictus exists for, and reportedly didn't fold him into the conversation until the host prompted him.
Oh, she loves calling herself a founder. So he actually corrected him and said founder. He said inventor. He could have said creator, but he said founder. And he seemed so happy with that.
Which is the whole reason he's on the show, right? Is to talk about the Invictus Games. That's what this
And he
trip
forgot
is
to
about.
mention that. He brings out a guy that he's founded it with, or they talked about. And he forgot to mention that. What a fucking idiot.
That's quite an aggressive start from you, Duke.
So, well, it's not an aggressive start. God, your hands are huge.
Now your tune's changed, hasn't it?
Look at those.
This is really interesting because it shows us how Harry acts when there's guy stuff going on where you're making fun of each other and starting stuff with each other.
Individual, like Cumberland sausages. Okay, let's go. Let's get into it.
Okay. intake questionnaire.
Dr. Joe Marler.
Well, you just said get into it, and then you interrupt the doctor.
Okay, sorry.
He was hugging them on arrival like old friends. He wasn't. Then came the bullying reference. He brought up being teased as a boy, Carrot Top, and half laughed through it in a way that left even sympathetic viewers unsure whether he was joking or wounded. But the audience that knows his story turned it right back on him, because his own memoir places him on the other side of that dynamic, mocking staff and describing behaviour that looked a lot like what he was now presenting as pain.
It's called Carrot Top, right?
Sorry.
I don't know why they would do it.
It's not funny.
It's not funny. I'm going to need therapy after this, I think.
One thing he brought up that I thought was interesting is that he said he got bullied when he was little. That may be why he's submissive when somebody comes on strong like Joe does. Maybe Joe reminds him of one of the bullies from when he was a little kid. Joe's a pretty big boy. And on the other hand, that could have nothing to do with anything, and maybe he wasn't bullied when he was a little kid. Maybe he was just saying that. But his behavior is giving me the feeling he's a little bit insecure because he's giving this guy the dominant position by always being submissive. When something comes up like that, he backs off, he does the compressed lips. It just seems like maybe he did have a problem as a kid.
That was the whiplash people kept talking about. Aggressive one moment, hurt the next, submissive the moment after, swinging between dominance and apology within a single exchange. Not the ease of a man among friends, but the restlessness of someone who never learned to sit in a room without a script. Then came the twist that turned a bad interview into a conspiracy. People watching the podcast's own channel noticed something, post a critical comment about Harry, and it vanished. Screenshot it first and you could prove it. Critical comment up, critical comment gone. Over time, the space filled with what looked like a suspiciously spotless wall of praise.
He was kind of serious about that, wasn't he?
He didn't
I got
laugh.
bullied at school.
He did, yeah, called Carrot Top.
Is that bullying? I mean, isn't that kind of common that kids know?
Yeah, kids are assholes.
You
Yeah,
get a nickname.
totally. Yeah,
Whatever.
toughen up.
Mine was
Baldy.
Tutti Frutti.
Carrot Top and Carrot
Was
Tip.
it really?
Yeah, Tutti Frutti, because it rhymes with Tutti.
Oh, wow. Well, thanks for that one.
Well, they
Thanks
weren't.
for the tip.
They just weren't that inventive.
Harry's sense of humor, though, is basically taking cheap shots at Joe and Jake.
Yep.
It's not a big deal, but it's just interesting. I think it says something about him, especially because he knows they can't really
One viewer said they called it out directly. We see you deleting these. Whether every deletion was real barely mattered, because the perception did the damage for an audience already convinced the Sussex brand is managed down to the smallest detail. Deleted comments reinforced the idea that the whole thing was staged, the praise manufactured, the applause curated, and the real Harry moment as scripted as everything else they think he touches. A small show picked to answer his brother's much bigger one, with even the audience reaction allegedly cleaned up afterward. While Harry was being analysed frame by frame, Meghan handed the same crowd a fresh target, a daytime Emmy nomination for a lifestyle series that, by most accounts, flopped. It never came close to the platform's biggest hit. It was quietly wrapped.
Well, I mean, I'm sure anybody would take them. Like somebody at that level, of course, they're going to have a Harry interview because it's just people are going to hate watch.
Let me tell you one more thing that's very interesting. I've been watching the comments in the comment section. They've been removing negative comments. So you'll see that there's like 4,000 or 5,000 comments and they're all positive. And I put a comment on there and said, dude, we see you. We see you removing the comments. Like we're screenshotting these comments and then they disappear. So the people running the podcast are actually removing